Beautiful moment of calm there as Chief Terence Monahan of the New York City Police Department kneeled in solidarity with protesters. Welcome back to CBS This Morning. There's that moment of calm there in New York, and there were other moments across the country. But unfortunately, here in this city, those positive feelings did not last into the night. There was looting and clashes, and those marred another day of peaceful demonstrations in the city as many ignored a new curfew. Earlier in the day, we tagged along with Monahan and asked him about the NYPD's response to the protests so far.
What happened in Minnesota was an outrage, completely and totally. But 800,000 law enforcement officers around this country are paying the price for what that guy did in Minnesota.
Can you understand the anger that we see over here?
Absolutely. I understand the anger. Protest, yell, scream, let your rage out. But don't take your rage out on the community, destroy the businesses that actually employ members of this community.
After violence erupted over the weekend, Chief Terence Monahan and the nearly 40,000 officers he oversees geared up for more protests.
Where is the line between a peaceful protest and out of control?
Bottles and rocks thrown at my cops, windows being broken, stores being looted. Got no place in American society.
But in recent days, tempers have flared, and the New York City Police Department has faced criticism for how some officers have responded.
You have to look at the entire incident. You have to look at the rocks being thrown, the injuries to my officers, what happened before, what precipitated that event, knowing that we had a commanding officer trapped in his car. His last transmission was, this may be my last transmission, dragged out of that car. This is what's going through a cop's mind as he gets surrounded.
As he checked in with his team yesterday afternoon, things remained peaceful.
There's a theory out there that when you guys armor up and look like military, that's when they get wild as well. They get more militaristic when you get more militaristic.
No, it's usually reactive. Usually we're going to suit up after we say that the temperature has gone up. Okay? If they're yelling and screaming, that's fine. But when bottles start coming, I got to put the helmets on. I got to get the shields out to protect my guys.
It's a show of force hard to miss for protesters like Shatasia Bird.
What do you think when you see that?
I am devastated. I am disgusted. We just want justice for our people, the same how anyone else would. It's all we care for.
The police say that they want to have a light touch, de-escalate. Do you believe that?
I mean, you see them behind us, right? I came today in flip-flops, ripped jeans, and a shirt. I have no need or no desire to want to fight, to want to get pepper sprayed down, to want to be tied, but I am prepared because I will fight for my people by any means necessary.
This is our city!
Monahan says he believes the vast majority of people causing trouble are coming from outside New York.
We have a lot of encouragement from outside agitators telling people to go out and cause mayhem in the city, using, I think, this movement for an agenda to end policing throughout the country, an anarchist agenda.
You say end policing?
That's what they do. All the signs that you see is defund policing, no more police.
As Monahan watched things unfold from the ground, Deputy Chief Edward Mullane had a different view from surveillance cameras feeding into a command center at police headquarters.
This is mob mentality. This has nothing to do with peaceful protests trying to right injustice.
But these people walking peacefully down the street, that's not mob mentality, is it?
Well, we don't like people walking in the middle of the street. We like the rights of everybody else who wants to drive in Manhattan.
But many Americans clearly believe this is the way to get attention as they press on for change.
What role does racism play in these outcomes where you have black men dying at a greater rate than other populations at the hands of police?
I don't believe racism plays a role in New York. I can only speak for what I've seen in New York City.
And yet you've got these outcomes. And if those protesters heard you say that racism doesn't play a role, that's why they're here, that's why they're angry. They don't think you get it.
I would never say that we are a racist police department. Absolutely not. Have incidents happened? Maybe there was a racist incident, something, and that person has been removed from this agency? Absolutely. We all care about the communities we work in. We care deeply in the minority communities, the cops that work there each and every day.
Yeah, so you have a problem there that is obvious to some people, but chief members of the NYPD police force at least don't want to name it. And if you don't name it, it can be hard to solve it. It's worth noting, Gail, and one of the things that complicates the situation here in New York is that the majority of officers in the NYPD are minorities themselves. It's a majority-minority department. And Chief Monahan points out that officers in his department, they do frequently face repercussions for inappropriate actions. If there's a bad cop, they get rid of him. He says about 100 cops every year are fired.
Chief Monahan, I thought Tony touched a lot of hearts yesterday when he knelt down with the protesters and was hugging and engaging with them. But then on the other hand, when people say that racism isn't the issue or they don't believe that's the issue, it's such a contradiction and it's so hard to understand. That's exactly, as you point out, why people are in the streets.
Yeah, you can bridge the gulf in part by taking a knee and joining hands, but if you can't say it along with them, it's hard to move forward. But move forward we must.